Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the channel, I'm Recurs, and in today's video I'm going to talk about the Modern Warfare 2 beta and what my personal opinion was on that beta. Now, you'll probably look at my channel, if you're new to my channel, first of all, hello, welcome, I'm Recurs. Secondly, if you're familiar with my channel, you'll probably look at it and notice I don't generally do a lot of Call of Duty content, so I don't. That being said, I've played the franchise since all the way back in 2008, so I think it's only real to say I have a full understanding of what makes a good Call of Duty game, and all my opinions are my own opinions. I just want to make that clear. If I like certain things and you don't like certain things, that's okay. You know, everyone's entitled to their own opinion. My opinion shouldn't shape your own perception of the game. If you enjoy the game, great. If you dislike the game, great. You know, at the end of the day, we're all entitled to our own opinion, and I'm just voicing my own opinion. I just feel the need that I have to put that out there because a lot of people come and attack people for disagreeing with them, and they say if you don't agree with what I say, you're entirely wrong. It doesn't matter what you think, what your belief is, you're wrong. I just want to get that out there before I really go into my own opinion on the beta. Just so we're all clear on, it's an opinion, okay? Opinions can change. Opinions are your own perspective of something. That's it. Let's just get straight into it now because I've rambled on about opinions long enough, okay? So starting off with a big one. My biggest complaint so far on Modern Warfare 2, the beta this is the fact that the UI is horrendous. Now, I'm not going to say this UI is bad overall. I mean, if I was on Disney Plus or if I was on Hulu, this would actually probably be standard, you know, UI you'd expect and something. But this UI does not work in a gaming perspective. We've seen videos online of people's controllers not even mashing up or even responding to the UI. You know, don't know what it's like on PC. I think it's the same issues. But this UI is not a gaming UI. This UI is something that I would expect to see on a streaming service like a Netflix, Hulu, Disney Plus, etc. And for all intents and purposes, it works well on that platform. But for a gaming perspective, it does not work good. It is not a good UI for a gaming, so it isn't industry. Mainly because it's just confusing as all hell. The perspective and the overall opinion of gamers when it comes to a UI is to know where you're going straight away. If we look back at the original Modern Warfare 2 2009 game, we saw that the UI was simple. It was campaign, special ops, multiplayer. It's simple. You don't really need to go all over the place. You don't. If you want to get into sub sections of whatever, if you go into multiplayer in the original game, you'll see Xbox Live, PlayStation Network, your PC, whatever the name of it was there, and then you'll see store. Everything that you need to get to access multiplayer is through the multiplayer segment, okay? This UI is horrendous for a game, okay? You can get completely lost in it. You know, there's no straight up drop down option, so there isn't. I don't know how they're going to fix this because generally speaking, whenever a game, you know, releases a beta, the UI is going to stay. The UI is something that never gets changed. However, the amount of negative feedback I've seen online to this UI tells me that this could actually be the first time we've actually seen a UI change drastically. And I'm not 100% sure if it has ever changed the UI based on the beta. Maybe you guys can tell me. I'm not familiar with it ever happening, so I'm not. But if it has happened before, feel free to comment it below. But other than that, this UI is horrendous for gaming. Okay, again, I don't have a problem with it if I'm on a streaming service. But for the concept of gaming, it's just stupid. Okay, just keep it simple. No one really cares if your UI, you know, is all sparkly and has fireworks coming out of it. Just keep it simple, okay? Just make it that we know where we're going as soon as we get into the game. If we want to play the campaign, the option's there. If we want to play the multiplayer, the option's there. Whatever third mode they bring into this game, the option will be there. Just keep it simple. We don't need to go all these different, you know, sub tabs and go to this place and do that. It's a game. At the end of the day, it's a freaking game, okay? Just get your bases right. Get a simple UI. It's not that easy. It's not that hard to get a simple UI of just knowing where you're going, okay? Honestly, me and my friend were stuck on this for about 10 minutes just trying to figure out how to get into a standard domination match, okay? It's ridiculous. Just scrap this UI, just start at the basics. If you even have to bring back the old one from Modern Warfare 2, bring it back, because honestly, this is just, I don't even know what to say about this. This needs to change. This is my number one that I think needs to change, because it's horrendous. Whatever guy they got in from Hulu, I've heard online that they've actually had people from Hulu design it. Just pay them off and get someone who knows what they're doing in terms of gaming to come in and do this, because this is just bad, okay? This is bad. I know I went on for a bit longer than intended, that little rant about the UI, but I just feel the need that I have to stress why I think it's bad. It's a bad UI for gaming, okay? Now we'll actually get into the gameplay. Now overall, when it comes to gameplay, it's something completely different, okay? Because the weapons in hand do feel very nice. You know, it doesn't feel like, you know, you're carrying too much weight on a weapon. The weapons feel nice and controlled. And honestly, I can't really complain about the overall weapon and gunplay of the game. I actually think it feels pretty good. Now, this may sound a bit contradictory to what I just said, but I just feel the need that I have to, you know, state it. Weapons, I do agree, feel good. The gunplay feels nice, so it feels nice and smooth. The problem is the weapons feel ridiculously overpowered, and hit detection is another issue that just can't be fixed at the minute. Now again, hit detection is an issue that can very easily be fixed. A lot of the times in betas, hit detection is a big issue, and it does actually get fixed before the final release. So I'm not really too worried about the whole hit detection issue because I do believe it'll be fixed. My biggest concern right now about the weapons in Modern Warfare 2's beta is the fact that this seems like the range is ridiculous. For instance, I'm going to try and find a clip here, hopefully I have found it, of me having a bit of a 1v1 with someone using a shotgun. Now I'm using the M4, so the distance isn't really an issue for me, so it doesn't, but this guy is actually using a shotgun. Now at first glance I actually thought it was a sniper, so that just because, the range, and I just thought he had removed the scope off it. But then the further I looked into it, it dawned on me that this was a shotgun, so it was. And this gun's range, I'm sitting on one building, he's sitting on the roof of another building, and he's actually able to hit me with the range. Now, I'm not going to say, shotguns don't have power to them, of course they do, but usually whenever you look at a shotgun, it's not the best weapon for range. We all know this. If you want to have a one-hit kill with any weapon within gaming, generally speaking, a sniper's your best bet because obviously it has the range behind it. If these shotguns have this range in the full game, you're expected to, come face-to-face with multiple people who are using shotguns and sitting in corners, or if they've got a whole squad of people with them, if they're let's say for instance they're playing search and destroy, they'll plant claymores around the bomb and they'll all be sitting around that spot with shotguns because the range on these things needs to be nerfed. Okay, this is a bad example of just game management, so it is. The guy who actually came in and made this decision that this is going to be the range this weapon has, I don't even know, maybe it's hard to go into. I don't know about making games, I don't know how difficult it is. But the point is, this is something that needs addressed ASAP because I can see the full release of this game and I can see people abusing this left, right and centre, so I can honestly see people sitting in corners with claymores at the doors or sitting in corners with shotguns just waiting for people to come through and be an instant kill, so they are. And more than one, because shotguns have the power behind them, and if you give them range, it's basically just an easier held sniper at this point. This needs addressed and this needs fixed. It really does. Now, something a lot of people actually haven't spoke too much about, and it was actually a big complaint in Modern Warfare 2019, was doors. Now, I don't personally have much of an issue with doors, so it's part of the game. It's just like whatever, if you want to add them. I don't really personally mind it, and I've seen a lot of people online back in Modern Warfare 2019 talk about it, and they were really against it. But I'm just a little bit surprised that Infinity Ward kept that in, so because the amount of backlash that doors had was shocking. So I actually thought it was going to be one of the first things that they would have taken out because of it. But it honestly looks like they haven't even addressed it, which is actually worrying on one sense because it means, are they actually even listening to the community? Because like I say, I personally haven't got an issue with doors. If you have them, you have them. If you don't, whatever, it doesn't really make much of a difference to me. I really don't care for it. But most players, it seemed, didn't like this, and they've stuck to it in this game, which really does tell the story that these guys aren't listening to the vast majority of players because, again, like me, there was a lot of people who didn't really care for it. It was like, whatever, if you want to have doors, have them. It doesn't really bother me whatsoever. But for the most part, a lot of people were against it, and probably more people were against it than more people were for it. So realistically, I'm actually very worried that Infinity Ward doesn't seem to be taking any criticism on at this point and making changes that could make a better game overall. Let's be honest, the majority of players who talk about Call of Duty games are people who have played it for years. Now, if you started with Black Ops 3, let's say, that's not an issue on, you started at a later date, so you did. But the majority of players like myself who have played this game for the longest time, we were playing it back in the days of the original Modern Warfare trilogy, Black Ops 1, World at War, all those sort of games. So we were sort of deemed, as Call of Duty views us, as legacy players. Now, being a legacy player means you have an idea of what made these games great. You were playing these games in their peak. And I'm not going to lie and say that all these games were great. If we look at Modern Warfare 2, it's a complete mess, the original game this is. We look at that game through nostalgic glasses, so we do. And I have to state that we look at it through nostalgic glasses. Because if we go back and play the game now, we're rage-induced because everything's overpowered, one-man army, noob tubes, etc. But everything with that game felt simple for what it was trying to do. And that's the important thing. It felt simple. It had a lot of replayability because it was simplistic. It wasn't over the top. It wasn't trying to do things that it shouldn't have tried doing. There was no doors. It was just simple gameplay. And realistically, a lot of the feedback people given to that game sort of did back in the day. Infinity Ward had a big falling out. I'm not going to go into that. But they had a big falling out with Activision, and a lot of their employees left. But the guys who were left, them and Sledgehammer Games, I do believe, they worked together making Modern Warfare 3. And a lot of the criticisms in Modern Warfare 2 were taken on board, and a lot of people actually found Modern Warfare 3 to be a better game. I'm not saying, everyone did, but it's subjectively a lot of people think it's actually one of the better games in the series. It's personally my favourite, but that aside. But the point is, Infinity Ward listened to the community and took certain elements out of what made Modern Warfare 2 a bad game. For instance, I do believe One Man Army actually isn't in Modern Warfare 3, so it is. That was a big, talking point that a lot of people didn't like in the game. They took it out. Whereas in this situation, it honestly seems like Infinity Ward just don't want to listen to any criticism. They'll take all the positives, they'll listen to the positives, but they don't want to take on any criticism and make changes that could make a better game. And again, the doors is something that's very, silly, it's very, simplistic, it's not a big deal. But the point is, it's a big talking point that people made years ago, and it's just been completely ignored, so it's a worrying sign in that sense. Now let's talk about Barney the Dinosaur. Oh wait, that's right, Barney the Dinosaur isn't in the game, but a dinosaur is in the game realistically. Oh wait, no, it's not dinosaurs, who am I kidding? It's multiple dinosaurs. It's not actually dinosaurs, I don't even know where I'm going with that little joke. It's a terrible joke, ignore it. The point is, you sound like a dinosaur walking around this map, okay? Because honestly, if you're walking upstairs, people hear you. If you're walking downstairs, people hear you. If you're running about a quarry, people are going to hear you. You can hear everyone's footsteps in this game to the point it's just ridiculous. Again, this encourages camping. This does encourages really slow build-up sort of gameplay. So it does. Now, if you're a camper, I'm not personally criticizing you because it's not a case of hate the player, it's hate the game in a sense. Because they're giving you the opportunity to play the game in this way. And by all accounts, take it, if you find it's easier to play this game as a camper, by all accounts, be a camper. I'm not saying you're wrong to actually play this game in this sort of way. The problem is the developers are encouraging this sort of gameplay by making loud footprints, slow gameplay. They're encouraging it all completely, so they are. And the problem is they don't want to address this. Now, I can't actually remember if footsteps were as loud in Modern Warfare 2019, and again, I have to keep stressing and going back to Modern Warfare 2019 because it's the game that Infinity Ward made prior to this game. Now, again, I can't really stress too much about it because I don't really know or can't really remember if there was footprints. I think there was, but they were not anywhere near as loud as these things are. It honestly feels like you're running with steel toe caps that have musical instruments on the bottom of them. That's how loud they are. I've had multiple deaths in this game, and when you listen to the kill cam back, you can actually hear the footprints that you're making, so it's like, well, obviously that's hard, I knew that was coming. So realistically, this is something that needs addressed and they need to take out. Now, it isn't all gloom and doom, I have to state that, there's a couple of things I do like about the game. The problem is, whenever you're talking about beta, you don't really want to talk too much about the positives, mainly because the positives are okay, you want to keep the positives the way they are. You need to talk about the bad things, because if we can get the bad things patched, we can get a better game. So it's more important to outline the bad things. Now, I'll probably talk about all the good things in another video, but in this video I'm going to stress on the bad things, the things that need addressed ASAP. But like I said, footprints, they're one of the big issues. Take it out, or just make Dead Silence a permanent perk. Don't have any of those special type perks in the game. Just keep the perk system simple. That's all I'm asking. I sort of got ahead of myself there by talking about perks. I hate this new perk system. I'm just going to lay it out there. I hate this new perk system. The old saying is, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And that's exactly what they've tried to do with perks. No one ever complained about the perk system in all the older Call of Duty games. It was simply have free perks, and these impact your player style so they do completely. There's nothing wrong with it, and there's a truck driving past my house that you might hear in the background. Sorry about the background noise if you can't hear it. There's a bit of work going on outside, but I'm going to have to go with it. But anyway, like I was saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Why do developers constantly take this idea that we need to change something that isn't broke? No one's ever complained about the perks. The only thing people have complained about the perks is that we might need new perks. They've never said, oh, get rid of the perk system because we want something completely different. The only thing that people have said about perks that have been negative is we need new perks. We don't need to get a new perk system. We need new perks is all I've heard. No one's complaining about the old perk system. Bring it back because it ain't broke, so don't fix it. Keep it simple, okay? These are developers, these are game developers. You have to look in and see what works. If no one's complaining about something, odds are it isn't an issue, so don't attempt at fixing it. Just keep it simple. Okay, so we may as well talk about the new game mode Invasion, okay? This is a really interesting mode because the more I look at this game mode, the more it feels to me that this is just something they've thrown in there to make up modes. And what I mean by that is if we look at Ground War, the Ground War map is exactly the same as Invasion. All the Invasion maps are being played in Ground War. Now the problem with Invasion is it's filled with AI players. Now AI players, I've counted them multiple times in this game, they're thick as chump, if that makes sense. It's not the same my dad produced, but they're stupid. They don't respond accurately to what players would be like. They don't, do exactly what players would do in the game. And realistically, I don't see the point of the mode being there because, like I say, you have Ground War, which is your big scale sort of mode. It has all the same things as Invasion, just as players instead of AI a lot of the time in it. Obviously I tested out Invasion. I wanted to see what the mode was like, but realistically, it just sort of feels like a filler mode, something they've just thrown in there because they can't think of anything else. It sort of feels like a cross between. You remember that mode in Modern Warfare 3 Survival? It sort of feels like Modern Warfare 3 Survival meets Ground War. So that's the best way I can describe it. So it is. It just doesn't feel like a fully mode that they've really went in on and went, oh, we're going to make a great mode here. it really doesn't, so I can't really talk too much into it. I did play it. I'm not gonna lie, I thought it was, you know, a decent mode, you know, it's good for points and stuff like that. But if you want competitive multiplayer, I'd avoid it because realistically it's filled with bots who are clueless, realistically. Yes, you'll still get killed here and there by bots, of course, but at the same time it's stupid. I don't see the point of it existing as a mode. Again, if you like it, that's great. I'm just stating my own opinion on the mode. It feels like it's just been thrown in to make up a mode, if that makes sense. So I don't know. And what's worrying here is I don't know if this is going to be like their third mode. So does having an invasion in this game means we're not going to get a special ops or a zombies mode? I don't know. It's worrying because I haven't even heard anyone talk about a potential third mode. Hopefully we do get a good third mode because, you know, I know a lot of people don't like them, but sometimes it can be a bit of fun if you're bored, you know, they're good for that aspect. But overall invasion just feels like a filler mode, if I'm being totally honest with you. I'd avoid it. Just if you want large scale, go to ground war. It makes more sense. It's good for points, don't get me wrong. If you want to rank up, it's very good for points that way, so it is, because again you're playing a lot of AI players, so you'll have that advantage. But overall, I just think, you know, stick to ground war if you want large scale, because the map's the exact same, so it is, plus you get vehicles and so forth, so honestly just stick to ground war. So overall, what's my opinion of this game as a whole? At the minute, I'm not going to review it as a fully finished game, so I'm not going to review it simply as a beta. As a beta, it needs a lot of work. It does. I mean, if this is the closest thing we're going to get to the final release in a couple of weeks, I'm incredibly worried. So and realistically, I didn't really touch on this, but I probably should have. The game personally, on the multiplayer asset and the whole color palette, for me personally, I think it feels very like Call of Duty Ghost. You know, was very involved in this game. Obviously, it's Infinity Ward, they made Ghost and understand that, but it really feels like there's a lot of similarities with this game and Ghost. So it does, you know, the color palette is almost identical, so it is. It's very slow, so it is. The time to kill, you know, is questionable, if that makes sense. And overall, it just really feels like they went back to the sort of ideas that they went with Ghost and tried to sort of make an amalgamation, a mashup of the game. And it just doesn't work for me, so it doesn't. I get a real Call of Duty Ghost vibe with this thing, so they're on the general 6v6 multiplayer. Another thing that I need to touch on, and this is just, you know, I really need to touch on this because it's very important. A friend of mine and myself, we suffer with eyesight issues, so we're not blind, but we do have eyesight issues. The colour palette in this game is really difficult to make out other players. I've encountered it firsthand myself. Whatever palette they've used is abysmal, and realistically, people have complained that they've removed the names from above people's head. That was actually very beneficial for the likes of us, because if you don't see necessarily the player, you can actually make out the name above their head, because usually a darker red, or you know, if it's teammate, it's like a darker green, it sticks out, so it does, and it really helps your point of view with the vision, so it does. So them removing that is really, you know, it's really difficult for us to actually get a good glimpse of the game, and so it is, and actually be able to play this thing like we would have played standard classic Call of Duty games, because it really is difficult to see. Now again, this is something that, you know, they can easily fix, they can very easily add this, but from someone who does suffer with severe sight problems, I would actually really recommend Infinity Ward do put this back in there, not just for me or my friend, but because there's multiple people who will suffer from sight problems, who will encounter problems, I guess, and won't be able to enjoy the game the way they should. And also, I would change the colour palette. I'd just try and make it a darker colour, or maybe a bit more of a bluish tint. I know, something just to, you know, break it out a bit, because players are actually blending into the scenery around them, which is really becoming a bit of a handful for people, and really difficult for people to actually get the kills. Change the colour palette and you sort out this issue. It's that simple. But overall, what would I give this beta so far out of 10? I'm going to give this beta a 5, realistically, and that's being generous. There is a couple good things that I will talk about in another video down the line, but for the most part, I want to see what they actually change in the final release before I make another sort of Modern Warfare 2 video. Overall, I will say this: the game, it can very easily be salvaged. A lot of the things that I've talked about are things that I think that they could very easily fix before the final release. The big talking point for me is the UI. I spent a long time talking about that UI. It's abysmal. Just completely scrap it, go back to basics. That's all I ask. But overall, the game, it can be salvaged very easily if they look at the feedback they're getting from this beta. We even had cheaters, by the way. It's all been confirmed. You know, there's actually been caught cheaters on a beta. So yeah, whatever, you know, software you're using, it ain't working. So go back to the drawing board with that. But overall, I would say this beta honestly probably feels like a solid 5 out of 10. It's not groundbreaking. It's not better than Pride of Loss. I'll be honest, it's probably not better than Vanguard at this point. But again, I do think that they can really easily salvage this game, so they can. And this has come from someone who liked Modern Warfare 2019. I actually really like that game. So for me to actually have this impression and this sort of view of this beta is worrying for anyone who maybe didn't like Modern Warfare 2018, because players like myself who like that game don't like this beta. So that's a worrying sign. But overall, I think a lot of this can be salvaged. I would say Infinity Ward needed probably delay the release of this by at least a month, just to try and get, you know, the final sort of things in the oven. Just, it isn't ready to be released yet, I'll say that much. Just give it another couple of weeks, even delay it if you have to. Call of Duty normally releases in November. I don't know why they've chosen October, but I would give them another month just to iron out a couple of things, because this needs fixed. It's not a game that can go out in this state whatsoever. It would be completely crapped on by everyone, I'll be honest with you. But overall, I've been Recurs. If you find this video informative, if that's proper words, I don't know. If you're new to the channel, you know, first of all, thanks, welcome to the channel. If you're new around here, maybe consider subscribing. I do a lot of FPS stuff, predominantly Battlefield. It's been Battlefield lately, so it has a couple Medal of Honor things, and of course Call of Duty I threw in there as well. Overall, if you like this, you know, please leave a like, and yeah, thanks for checking out the video, guys. Sorry it went on for a bit, but yeah, have a nice day, guys. Peace.